Ed Usset from the University of Minnesota joins us this week for a unique view of marketing. Ed spoke at the recent Soybean Day and Machinery Expo in Wahoo about 5 common mistakes in grain marketing. Ed's approach is about having a proactive, not reactive or overactive strategy when it comes to pricing corn, soybeans, or wheat. As he said when we talked at the event, great marketing is not about finding the high price, it's about finding an extra 10 to 20 cents per bushel. We started our discussion by asking why.
Well, I'm just trying to get people to think differently about marketing rather than thinking about finding the high, when corn prices will peak and what day. My message is that's a hard game to play and a hard game to play well and consistently. Think instead about eliminating mistakes. My analogy is your favorite football team. They don't have to run any faster. They don't have to jump any higher to be any better. If they'll just quit jumping offside on 3rd down and 2, or quit throwing interceptions at a crucial point in the game, they're that much better, they're that much more competitive.
When you say eliminate mistakes, does that mean eliminating losses or eliminating emotion?
I've got 5 specific mistakes I talk about. One is the reluctance towards pricing before harvest. A lot of people are still afraid to price early. Another mistake is understanding basis, your local price relative to futures. Another mistake is the lack of an exit strategy. Jeff, you've got a lot of farmers in Nebraska, in my home state of Minnesota and Iowa, who have taken their crop and they put it in the bin and they're waiting. And what I'll ask them is, you're waiting for what? You're waiting for what? 20 cents more, 50 cents more? We've had a heck of a rally lately. And of course, very few people put a number on it, and I think that's a problem. Another mistake is related to that one, holding grain too long. We have people who hold it right up to the next harvest. And I'm going to show today why that's a losing strategy, even though it has its years, its moments. And finally, carrying charges. The difference between different futures delivery months, the difference in price between December and March corn, it's fundamental to understanding grain markets.
Tell me more about the advantage to pre-harvest pricing.
Well, there's a tendency for futures prices and cash prices to be higher in the spring than they are in the fall. Now, having said that, Jeff, you've got people viewing this right now who are going to say, yeah, but I remember 2012, I remember this year, I remember that year when the price at harvest was higher. Yeah, it happens. But in the case of corn and soybeans, that's 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 years. The other 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 years, it's higher in the spring than it is in the fall.
You also mentioned basis. Why is it so critical to track where your basis is locally every single year?
Well, basis is what ties your local price to the futures price. It's probably the smallest of the 5 mistakes, smallest in terms of an opportunity to improve, and yet basis tells us so much about local supply and demand, and producers just tend to focus on the board. Was the Board of Trade up 5 cents or down 5 cents? We should also be paying attention to that local basis. Tells us more about our local supply and demand.
As you said, another mistake is not having an exit strategy. Does that mean setting a price or setting a date when you should be out of the market?
One or the other. I'm glad you said setting a price or a date. I'll take either one. Just have one. I tell producers that the most, I know what they're waiting for with grain in the bin. They're waiting for another 25 cents. That's what they're waiting for. And of course, if we get another 25 cents, we wait for another 25 cents. And of course, it never has an end. Put a date on it, put a time on it, put a price on it, and stick to it.
Do you go by a hard floor every single year or a hard date that you want to be out of your cash grain?
Yes, July 1. I call it the 11th commandment of grain marketing. Thou shalt not hold cash grain beyond July 1. That's for corn and soybeans. If you're a wheat producer and holding wheat, that date should be June 1.
Will this take out the day-to-day market swings? Sort of watching the market every day and riding it up and then riding back down if you develop a plan like this?
I think it helps. I think people who have a plan I mean, I hate to preach ignorance. Don't pay attention to the market. You have to pay attention to it. But people who have a plan and intend to stick by it, they tune out the noise a little more because they know what they're trying to accomplish. If the market's not there, they say, be patient, it'll get there. They know when they're going to take action.
Ed has more information about developing a marketing plan available on his website. We'll link to that on the Market Journal homepage.